In this demo, we have an employee onboarding use case that was built in BizTalk server, and we would like to move it to the Logic Apps hybrid deployment model. In this employee onboarding process, we will take BizTalk artifacts like maps, schemas, and .NET Framework custom code and run this solution in Logic Apps Standard, running on customer-managed infrastructure. Here we have a Logic Apps hybrid instance, and we can tell based upon the custom location and connected environment. In the left navigation panel, we will also discover some familiar menu items, including schemas, maps, and custom assemblies. In addition, we also have container settings that can be modified to meet our scaling needs. In our schemas folder, we will find XSD files from BizTalk. In the maps folder, we will find our XSLT file that also comes from BizTalk. Lastly, we have our custom .NET Framework assembly that will be called from our data transformation. Let's now head into our workflow to see our implementation. Our workflow will process employee change requests and will begin with an HTTP trigger. From there, we will call our data transformation map that was uploaded from BizTalk. Here we can also see the XML extension object metadata that will allow for the scripting Functoid to find our custom assembly. After our data transformation, we will use the schema from BizTalk to validate our output message. We can also use the new XML parse with schema action that will allow us to use the XML elements in our Azure connectors. Historically, we would have had to use XPath statements to extract these values. We will now insert these values into Dataverse using that connector. Once we have completed communicating with Dataverse, we will send a response back to the caller. Let's now use Postman to send an XML request into our workflow. Notice our employee ID does not contain leading zeros. After our workflow runs, we can see that our employee ID now contains leading zeros, which is an indicator that our custom code was executed correctly. As we can see, our Dataverse instance has been updated successfully. Let's now go check out our run history to see exactly how our workflow executed all of the required steps. Much like Logic Apps that runs in Azure, we have full access to our audit trail. The difference is that this information is coming from the customer's SQL Server instead of Azure Storage. Here we can see all of the inputs and outputs, including the leading zeros being added to the employee ID field. That concludes our demo on using artifacts from BizTalk in Logic Apps hybrid deployment model.